and they've elected to run into the wind in the first half. They're going to elect to put it on hold, I would think. They'll be happy with a pretty close scoreline at half-time, and they'll look to use the wind in the second half.
Well, that pretty much suits their style, isn't it, David? It's one of grinding away and just getting things to happen in a matter-of-fact way. They don't really go out with any outstanding out-and-about football.
Very much so, Bill, but just as importantly will be that Brisbane must take advantage of this wind in the first half. They want to play their open style of football, throw it around, and good to see Eddie Ward here straight away, penalising Penrith for inside the 5 metres, having been in front of the kicker. Here's a chance for Brisbane to search for touch.
Well, we saw a few instances in the reserve grade match here today, the referee allowing that to go by. And also, of course, those backs out wide getting up offside. He didn't do too much on that one. Talking about the reserve grade, a good win here by the Broncos. They won it by 8 points to 6. They were down 6-0 at half-time. They went against the wind in the first half, but they were down to 12 men in the second half with the dismissal from the field of James Donnelly. So it was a good win for them by 8 points to 6. So now it's Broncos in possession, just on the Penrith quarter line. Cross to G, but the defence coming up there very quickly, headed off there by Vandervoort. Also into it, the tackle was Joe Vertanza. Langer getting it away to Walters. He dummies. Can't get away from the tackle coming in over there, though, from Carter. So from the play the ball, back to Mark Hone. Straight ahead, Mark Hone works up to the quarter line before he'll be put down. The final tackle is coming up. There's going to be a penalty, stealing the ball in there.
And interfering in the play the ball movement totally. Eddie Ward will not stand for it. Have a look at this. There's Mark Hone trying to get to his feet. Just pulled by Roy Simmons. And you could also have got Simmons for lying in the base of the ruck. And a chance for Terry Madison to put the first points on the board.
Let's check our conditions. We did mention that wind. Let's check everything else out down on the touchline with Tony Durkin.
Thanks, Bill. As you said, those conditions really are shocking. Beautiful conditions at the Gold Coast last night, but quite the opposite here at Penrith Park this afternoon. The wind coming from the west, but once it gets inside the stadium, is swirling around, and Terry Madison certainly will have the assistance of that breeze with this penalty kick at goal. The worst aspect probably of the conditions today is that there's a lot of dust blowing across from the car park outside the ground, and that's swirling in here as well. And as you can see, the ground in not real good condition either, but still, it's the same for both sides, and as you said, the Broncos electing to run with that breeze in the first half.
Yeah, well, just talking about that ground out there, there's a lot of just sand out there in the middle. Takes up a very big percentage of that ground. It's going to be very difficult to keep your footing. Here's a kick by Madison, no doubt about it. Through it goes. So the Broncos open up an early lead. It's 2 points to 0 here at Penrith Park. Back here, ready for the restarted play. It'll be Greg Alexander to do just that. And he'll be kicking into the teeth of that breeze. Reserve grade is that he decided to do it pretty swiftly there. He kept it nice and low.
Well, that'll be a tactic they'll try and employ, but it also helps delay the receiver picking up the ball and allows the chasers to get through. Exactly what Penrith were able to do there.
Headed off by Carter on that occasion. It was the first one on the job. Well, we'll be watching Sam Bacco in this match. Wayne Bennett has elected to throw him in right from the start of play. That's Greg Dowling. Another good run from Dowling, getting it up to just on the quarter line. We'll be looking for some heavy stuff from Sam Bacco in the early part. We wouldn't expect him to last the whole match, that is for sure.
No, Bill, he'll be out to play in bursts, and we saw in the early minutes of the game he was able to stand and tackle and offload to Kieran Walters. So that'll be the importance of Bacco, and also will relieve quite a bit of pressure off Dowling. Two big men really do help the situation in the middle of the ruck.
Roy Simmons up his dummy half, gets it away to Vandervoort. Vandervoort to a couple of metres short of the halfway mark. Simmons again. He'll find Cartwright over there. Has been in some great form. He really rallied to the cause for Penrith last week against Newcastle. And there's a lot of sabre rattling down here to keep him in mind for the Kangaroo Tour. But there's plenty of players in line for Kangaroo Tours this year. So the final tackle now, and a penalty coming up to Penrith this time.
This time, Andrew G not standing square on at the marker position. Because it was the final tackle, Andrew G was going to try and get out of that marker position as quickly as possible to try and harass the kicker. Eddie Ward spotted it. Penrith's first penalty. They've got a chance now to go on the attack.
Yes, it'll be Greg Alexander to find touch. He does, but gee, he was lucky. It bounced in front of Chris Johns over there and just found touch. And I think Johns was going to have a go at it.
No, well, he really should have, Bill. He had nothing to lose to have a shot at it, but he didn't touch it, and therefore a tap.
So at this stage, it's the Broncos with a lead of 2 points to 0.
And the Penrith at the side on the attack. That's Cartwright back for Vertanza. And he takes it to about 15 metres out from the Brisbane line. Simmons again, Cartwright, switch of play. Alexander, that's Carter. He goes out to Fittler. But the defence is up there of Chris Johns. 2-0, the Brisbane side lead after 5 minutes. Fittler, 10 metres out from the Brisbane goal line. Simmons, back for Cartwright. And the big second row forward charges at that Brisbane defence. This is the final tackle. Simmons, away for Alexander. The little kick into the in goal is a good one. I think it's the try. No, knock on.
Lost forward. I think Carter was the man who got to the ball, knocked it forward in the in-goal area, therefore a restart on the 22. Carter had got there to be touched by Brisbane, therefore Carter was onside. You could see there he lost the ball. Here's another angle of it. Now, the ball had been touched. Eddie Ward signalled that. Carter couldn't grab it cleanly. Restart on the 22. Here's Brisbane.
Yeah, the two Walters brothers combining there to take it up to within 9 metres of halfway. Now it's Dowling. Led the side in the last 3 games in the absence of Gene Miles. Walters now for Bacco. And that's a confidence boost for the big prop forward. Now Langer cuts out Hone. Gave it to Walters, to Jackson. Back inside for Johns, but he spilt the football.
Well, no reason for it. John's normally a mistake-free footballer, but on that occasion, the pass back inside from Jackson. Now, Jackson had done well. He'd drawn 2 players, given the alley there for Chris Johns. Just took his eye off it. Chance for Panthers now, loose hit and feed.
Well, we see Green, the 2 experienced players on the bench in Mortimer and Izzard. Green looked as though he was going to come into the line, but that's Carter playing in the 5/8 role.
Test here for Kevin Walters today. The Australian side for New Zealand picked tonight. The New Zealand match a week today. Kevin Walters being touted as a possible Australian 5/8. He was outplayed by Cliff Lyons last week. He'll be able to have a big one today.
Now Simmons from dummy half taken. Big solid tackle by Greg Dowling.
Gerard Walters pulled out there, and it was good to see that. He was going to kick at the ball, realised he was going to be late on the scene, didn't go through with the kick.
That's a bad mistake by Clark, but he's knocked it back. The Tanzer is the dummy half. Watch for Alexander. Back for Cartwright. The kick in general play goes back for Paul Hoff. I'm just noticing, David, that Mortimer and Izzard on the bench. Coach Phil Gill told me before the game he's even missed Mortimer during the training sessions this week. He's got such a steadying influence on this side.
Yeah, he's a vital part of the side. He always competes at the highest level. Interesting that Gill decided fairly early in the week to select his side and leave both those guys out, Izzard and Mortimer. But obviously they've come good enough at least to be fresh reserves.
Jackson in the side today for the injured Dale Shearer. That's Walters running out of dummy half. Back for Willie Kahn. Kahn tries to take on the defence of Carter. Got through him, but can't get through Van der Voort. And he's 32 out from his own goal line. So Andrew G is the dummy half. It'll go back for Jackson. He's dropped that short of Green. That's a great kick. Gee, that was a very well placed and well thought out by Peter Jackson.
Well done there from Peter Jackson. The long kick downfield. Once again, the benefit of a howling gale at the back of Brisbane. Kick straight into touch.
So Brisbane with that early lead. And we've had just on about 9 minutes of play in this first half. Alexander back for Green. Playing today in his 5th appearance at fullback. He's had 7 games on the wing, but he's fitted in very well in either position.
Tony Durkin down there on the touchline. Now, Dirk, I understand that Wayne Bennett has taken up a somewhat unusual position in the crowd today.
Well, I believe Wayne Bennett is standing in the outer, David. I'm yet to confirm that, but I believe that's where he is, and I believe he has a couple of policemen with him.
Interesting, because Bennett did adopt a practice in his early coaching career. Here's Penrith make a break.
And it's a good one. It's Fittler. Away for Stewart. Stewart inside the corner. It's back for Fittler. First try to Penrith.
Well, Penrith is showing that they can play an attacking brand of football. They've scored a try against the Breeze. It'll be a bonus. Penrith start from deep inside their own territory and found a deficiency on the right-hand side. There's the big fella, Cartwright. That's what he does best. Pops the ball up, straight out to Walker. Walker looks for support. Carter to Fittler. Fittler out to Willis, and Willis does well. Bit of extra pace to get away. It's not Willis, it's Stewart. Stewart back on the inside. Fittler had not been knocked to ground. That's a good Panthers try.
Well, Billy scored in the last 2 matches against Manly and Newcastle, and he finished off beautifully, and what a vital strike for Penrith.
Yeah, well, it was good work for them, and of course halfback there is in 2 minds. He decided to go for the winger, but that left Fittler unmarked, and that enabled it to come about with a good try for Penrith.
And after electing to run into that breeze, it's bonus 4 points.
Sure is. They lead by 4 points to 2, waiting for the shot at goal. Round the corner, it's going to be a hopeless task against that wind, but it wasn't a bad try. So the score remains Penrith leading the Brisbane Broncos by 4 points to 2. So we're back with the restart of play now. And it'll be Terry Madison who gives it a long kick downfield. Should be able to get plenty of distance, of course, with that wind behind him. As we saw in the reserve grade, there were some big kicks from underneath the goal mouth and also from the halfway mark. So Simmons up as dummy half. Deciding to go himself. Fittler was going with him, but he held on to the ball. Alexander dummy half. Alexander will turn away to Van der Voort. Runs into Mark Hone, who forces him back a couple of metres. Simmons again. He'll send across the other way this time. Coming up there is Clark. So back to Vitanza. He's in there for Mortimer today. The final tackle now. So Simmons. Swinging it back to Alexander. The kick downfield, going straight to the fullback Hoff. Plenty of Penrith players up there. Hoff is going to be wrapped up.
Typically the percentage play that Penrith adopt has been highly successful for them in recent weeks. Value that possession, get the ball downfield as quickly as possible or as safely as possible, and then try and force the error.
So back over to Walters, outside to Johns. Johns out of one tackle. He tried to get it around the corner, but it'll carry forward. There's no use those players having a go at it there. So a Penrith ball as Van der Voort sends it back to Cartwright. And they got the error very early in the piece, didn't they?
Well, they did, Bill, and now a penalty. It looks like an indiscretion here. Peter Jackson's been called over. Tony Durkin on the touchline.
Well, from my vantage point here, it did appear as though Peter Jackson may have thrown a punch, and that just confirms it.
Yes, your vantage point supported by the replay. Jackson coming over the top, unnecessary. A little bit of frustration. He couldn't get to the attempted pass by Chris Johns. And here's a chance for Penrith. I think a difficult shot for goal.
Alexander is going to have the shot there.
Bill, just getting back to that point about Wayne Bennett and his election to stand in the crowd today. Oftentimes when he was coaching South in Brisbane, he took up a posse in behind the goalposts. And there's a shot of that huge crowd that's here today.
That wind seems to have dropped off a little bit just as he's about to take this shot at goal. It's on its way. It's coming around okay. It's good. That's another 2-pointer on the board for Penrith. So they open up a lead of 6 points to 2. So now it's Penrith in possession with Vitanza bringing it up now.
Here come the rucks.
Vitanza gets to about 10 metres inside Broncos territory. Back across over this time to Walker. Crowd starting the booing a bit. They're looking for a penalty here. Alexander decides to run. Now linking up with Cartwright. He got it back behind there to Green, but he's going to be caught up in the traffic. So the dummy half waiting for it up there is Bentley. Bentley outside for Clark. Clark will be bowled over with the final tackle coming up. So across to Alexander. The little chip kick this time. He's out after it. Got to be lost by Willie Kahn. He's knocked it on. Well, there's the pressure on again.
Good little kick that from Greg Alexander. Got into a bit of space, which forced Willie Kahn to come forward to it. Alexander not putting on too much power on the kick. And Willie Kahn always in trouble. Knocks it forward. Chance for the Panthers.
Alexander to feed this scrum. In by Alexander. Out it comes this time. A cross over there to Carter. So Penrith about to put on the pressure. Away from dummy half this time is Green. Green will be put down some 8 metres out now from the Broncos line. They've still got a few tackles up their sleeve, so Van der Voort takes it up. They'll keep working it up the centre, or will they let it fly? Let's see what Simmons does. He'll give it to Alexander, outside to Cartwright. Cartwright trying to bust his way through. He's almost there. He's close to that line. But they quickly play the ball. Simmons getting away to Alexander. Alexander outside this time to Walker.
Forward pass, though, Bill. Eddie Ward's called it forward. It was only marginal.
Tell you what, that's a bit of a let-off there for the Broncos because the pressure was on.
Yeah, they were hanging by their fingernails there. Brisbane have been under pressure even though they've got a guard at their backs.
Touch judge in for the replacement. Sam Bacco coming off.
Gavin Allen to come on. Sam Bacco to leave the field.
I think not a moment too soon either. They want work rate there because the Panthers are coming up the middle.
Well, Bacco has been on the field for, what, 24 minutes. So Broncos in possession. Chris Johns fighting his way upfield. Penrith leading at the moment by 6 points to 2. This is Gavin Allen, who shows them the way up, straight up the centre. Gerard Walters. Back over to Mark Hone. Good ground made up the centre, gets it back to Walters. Walters breaks away on the halfway mark. He's got Madison, but I don't think he can get to him. He comes up to Green, and Green will take him, but a great run there by the 5'8". Madison to dummy half. Back it goes to Alan Langer. Looks around, sends it back the other way to Madison. He's going to be taken ball and all up there by Bentley. And it'll be Walters coming up as dummy half. So back to Langer. He puts a little kick in. It's not a bad one. It's back behind Alexander. It'll go back over the dead ball line. So play will start back on the quarter.
Well, you talk about second phase play in rugby union. Brisbane did not have second phase there after that great break by Kevin Walters. Langer kicks, but it goes too deep. All the pressure off.
Well, with Bacco off the field, the question must be asked, David, was it a calculated gamble by Brisbane coach Wayne Bennett?
Well, it was certainly a calculated gamble. If they win, it'll be a success. I don't think it's been a disaster for him by any means. I doubt really whether he would have hoped he got any more than about the 25 minutes.
OK, well, Cartwright now takes play up to midway between the half and the quarter, still at Penrith's end of the ground. Simmons from dummy half. That's Walker. Trying to call his way towards halfway. But Penrith have done it well. They lead by 6-2. And about 14 minutes of play remaining in this first half. They've dominated possession, as you can see, to the tune of 72-41. Here's the kick downfield. Khan waiting for it. Comes to Vandervoort, whose defence today has been first class. Langer. Vandervoort, in fact, the leading defender of the Penrith side. Hoff takes play beyond the quarter. That's Walters. Allen looking to unload, but no one there. Langer out from Kevin Walters. Kick in general play is in touch on the full. No, it isn't. It finds touch.
But still not a good kick, though. Brisbane not taking enough advantage at this stage of the wind. Just in the field of play.
Tony Durkin.
Well, David, we've heard a fair bit recently about the injuries to John Cartwright, and Phil Gould castigated some members of the media during the week for saying that they may be damaging Cartwright's kangaroo chances by claiming that he's injury prone. I reckon out there now he is dead set carrying a shoulder injury. His right arm is hanging loosely by his side, and I think I just saw him motion to the bench for some kind of treatment. OK, well, Penrith win the scrum, and they're 10 metres short of the halfway line as Madison came over for the second tackle on Bentley. That's Carter, and Green up from fullback. Oh, the little General Simmons goes into dummy half, and this is one of the exciting players in rugby league in Australia, and Brad Fittler. Oh, superb play! That is a magnificent try.
That is the try of a champion. Brad Fittler did it all himself. He started with a full defensive line in front of him. He went through that with a step, kicked out of a cover defending tackle by Gerard Walters. End on will be great. Now have a look at this. Full defensive line, bang, straight through. Gerard Walters can't get him in cover. Comes to the fullback, no one with him. So what you do, bang, straight through again. And have a look at this. Willie Kahn gets to him, but look at the technique here. Holds him off for a moment, comfortably gets across the try line. A try of a champion, a player of the future. Should, I think, go away on the Kangaroo Tour. So much ability, this guy. There's not many players in rugby league could have scored this try, and he did it all on his own with every skill in the book. Look at this. Complete confidence. Get away, Willie. It's my try.
He shouldn't have any trouble. He hasn't. It's the Panthers in the lead by 12 points to 2 here at Penrith Park. Now Green is the man at dummy half. He runs away from that position on his own as Allen comes in. 3.5 minutes remain to half-time, and Penrith have done it well. They lead by 12 to 2. Now Simmons, Geyer. Attracted a bit of attention. Good quick play of the ball, and Simmons comes out of dummy half. Taken by Walters and Hone. Now, Alexander is the danger player here for Penrith on the final tackle. He unloaded the ball. Clark floated it for Stewart. He put it on the toe, and it stayed in the field of play for about 10 metres.
Once again, Penrith executing the 6 tackles to perfection, followed up by the little grubber kick, gained another 15 metres.
Loose head end feed now to Brisbane with 3 minutes remaining on the clock. To what they would regard a break where they can reassemble and try to get back into this ball game in the second half. They really haven't threatened so far.
Well, you're exactly right, Fordo. They haven't got a sniff of the try line, and Penrith have played this first half to perfection to keep Brisbane away from the try line. Brisbane have not put Penrith under pressure at any stage.
And in the doing that, David, they've made 19 errors in the first 37 minutes of football, and there's another one.
Yes, and it's no use having a howling gale behind you if you haven't got the possession to go with it. Bentley.
Yes, the good counter-attack away for Willis. But Hancock's strength pulled him to the ground.
Well, Hancock tried to go in one-handed there. He didn't really come in with the shoulder at all.
Now Fittler. Lovely ball for Vatanza. Back it goes, Bentley. Alexander from a standing start. Unloaded it for Carter. And his legs were taken underneath by Alan Langer. Now Alexander working blindside with Bentley. So they're to the quarter line, Penrith. Into the final 2. Walker. Madison was the man that came at him ball and all. Simmons. Vatanza.
He's had a strong game, Vatanza.
He's got it to within 8 metres of the try line on the final tackle. Alexander. It's been kicked forward by Hone. That's Willis, 6 more to go. So Brisbane under intense pressure.
Minute and a half up to half-time.
And 6 tackles for Penrith. They're only 12 metres out. That's Green. Simmons calling the tune. Switch of play. Clark did well. Green was just crunched by Hone. Now Simmons. Away for Fittler. One-hander. Simmons. Vatanza. Allen wrapped him up. Now Alexander. Back it goes for Green. So close to the try line. Final tackle. Alexander left it behind. And finally shoveled dead.
Well, Brisbane under enormous pressure there. They may have kept their hopes alive in this match. Well, they certainly have. Had Penrith got across then, it would have been curtains. The knock-on already occurred at that stage. Therefore, the knockdown by Hoff unnecessary.
Well, they've got 26 seconds to use up before half-time.
Well, the 26 seconds where all they've got to do is hold the ball. Penrith offside a mile.
Penrith have had a very, very good kicking game so far in this first half, putting Brisbane under intense pressure. And they lead by 12 points to 2. Walters. And that should be the last play. It is. And the fans here at Penrith Park have plenty to cheer about at the halftime break, because the Panthers lead the Broncos by 12 points to 2, and they've done it well.
Ready to go for the second half of this match, and it's Penrith with a good lead. They have the wind behind them in the second half, and they lead at this stage by 12 points to 2.
Yes, Bill, and with that win, rest assured Greg Alexander is trying to put this one over the dead ball line.
Well, he doesn't get it too high off the ground, that is for sure. It'll be taken back there by Peter Jackson. Jackson will run it out, firstly up to Bentley, and they'll put him to the ground just on the Broncos' quarter line. Walters comes up as dummy half. Way over there to Madison, trying to skirt up the centre.
Bill, the decision by Penrith, and in particular Phil Gould, to run against the wind in the first half, totally vindicated. Of course, the scoreboard says that at 12-2, but so do the stats. Brisbane had to make 120 tackles compared with Penrith 62, so Penrith have played the type sort of football. Madison Dowling for Brisbane, Van der Voort and Vatanza for Penrith. Errors, Brisbane have exceeded. Here's Kevin Walters.
Breaking up the centre now, is there going to be some support? His brother was there, but he couldn't get around it to Kerrod.
Just quickly, Bill, errors 22-15. Brisbane have made far too many. And in kicks in general play, here's a handy penalty for Brisbane. Kicks in general play, 14 by Penrith against the wind, 8 by the Broncos. There it is, lying in the base of the ruck by Mark Geyer. This is a handy penalty for Brisbane. No better time to get on the board than now.
It was handy, but Hoff doesn't find touch, and Penrith end up with possession.
Well, that's disgraceful.
So they still work it up the centre. Taking it up over there this time was Willis. So Penrith with possession. Taking it up there is Clark. Simmons. Well, that's not a good start for the Brisbane team. This is Geyer. Grabbed by Gavin Allen. They eventually get him down a couple of metres inside Broncos territory. So they put pressure right on themselves again. Vitanza. He unloaded it back over there to Green, lurking up with them. He's put down about 12 metres inside Broncos territory. Simmons gets it away to Vitanza again. They're making some good headway up the centre. This is the final tackle. Fittler out wide, calling for it. Alexander's putting in the little chip kick. There's Fittler going out after it, but Willie Carr will dive on it. Gets up, starts to work up the centre. Got away from Alexander. And eventually going to be put down. Stewart coming into the tackle, and also over there was Clark. So here's Tony Durkin, who's been lurking around those dressing rooms. What have you heard?
Well, Wayne Bennett's message to the Broncos, Bill, at half-time was quite simple. Make no mistakes. And, of course, we've just seen Paul Hoff make an absolutely inexcusable mistake, not failing to find touch from that penalty.
Here he is now. Can he make amends for it? He's going to be pulled down 10 metres inside Penrith territory. He'll play it with Jackson coming up as dummy half to Alan Langer. Then getting it away to Madison. Madison props. Back it goes to Walters. Drop back behind him. And eventually Alan Langer is going to be squeezed up in the tackle from Mark Geyer. So Kevin Walters puts in the kick. Comes off Penrith. Lost by Mark Hone. It'll be a Penrith ball. Well, another mistake. 2 in the space of a couple of minutes. Not the way to start. This is Vandervoort. Vandervoort to almost on the halfway mark. So coming back this time to Walker. Simmons the dummy half. Alexander, Vitanza. Taken a bit high by Allen. He slipped out of it, but eventually put down.
Well,
not the best. Referee Eddie Ward coming in to check on him.
Here it is, the high tackle there by Gavin Allen. Joe Vitanza somewhat unfortunate not to gain a penalty.
So the dummy half is Simmons. He'll send it back over there to Clark. In turn knocked over. 9 metres inside Broncos territory with the final tackle on the way. So here's Alexander. He just drops it in over the top, but he kicks it straight to Michael Hancock back there. Hancock going all over the place, runs into Fittler. He won't run over him.
Well, good work from Fittler because there were 3 players initially confronting Hancock. He likes to run backwards to start again, and Fittler had covered it well by coming in just on the wide side of him.
Kevin Walters getting it outside over there to Johns. Johns put down about 10 metres short of the halfway mark. So it's Penrith with a lead of 12 points to 2. Kevin Walters round the blind side. Got to be wrapped up, though. Just short of the halfway mark. Dummy half, Kieran Walters. To Dowling. Outside to G. Then away to the big fella coming up there in Gavin Allen. Final tackle, Alan Langer sends it away this time to Jackson. Jackson's going to be wrapped up. That'll be the handover.
Well, Brisbane trying their hand at running the ball in the 6th tackle. Jackson had a chance to put the little grubber kick in once he got close to the defence.
So now this is Green up from fullback, is going to be knocked over. So big Mark Geyer running onto it. They eventually stop him.
Swinging arm from Dowling when undetected by Ward.
Didn't go undetected to the crowd, though. So at this stage, Penrith with that lead of 12 to 2.
And one of the pleasing aspects of this performance by Penrith has been their committed defence, but their mistake-free football as well. And they've opened up a very handy lead of 12 points to 2. And 5 minutes gone in the second half. Alexander away for Walker. Alexander again, angling it towards that corner post, but it will be too deep. And it in fact goes dead in goal. So play will come back to the quarter line for the restart of play.
Alexander very dirty with himself there. The last result he wanted was to put it over the dead ball line. Restart on the 22 metre.
Well, a running caution there for that earlier incident, I should imagine, with Mark Geyer. So, Langer for Dowling. Now Walters, and he's offside, Carter.
Steve Carter at no stage standing square on at the marker position. Walters, as he tried that little dash, tackled immediately, but a chance for Brisbane if Paul Hoff can find touch.
Yes, a very bad mistake earlier in the second half when Hoff failed to find touch on that far side. He made sure of this one. Brisbane, in fact, have got the last 3 penalties. And the Tappery start with Walters. The receiver is Dowling. Came to Simmons. Clark came in over the top with Matanza. That's Walters. Away for Allen. Quick ball for G.
Brisbane just don't seem to be fired up to me. They're not running with any great determination or pace, and that's what they've got to do.
Well, there appears to be very little pattern in their play, though.
Well, that's right. They tend to play an ad hoc style of football. But one pattern you cannot do without, and that is aggressive straight running in the early stages. And Brisbane aren't doing it.
Now, G is the dummy half. They are so far offside, it's not funny.
Well, that's how you can get up and tackle like that when you're allowed inside that 5 metres.
Now, Langer, Walters, Johns. But good defence out there. Oh, he's pulled through the tackle. That was the tackle of Willis. It's gone forward, kicked through by Madison, but he's been ruled offside.
He was in front of Chris Johns as Johns dropped the ball. Brisbane with a chance again, but not holding the ball for those 6 tackles. Johns made a good break, but as he tries to wrestle his way free, loses the ball forward. Madison offside. Penalty required.
Well, you can't blame the Penrith side. They did this to Canberra. They crept up inside that 5 metres, but providing you're allowed to get away with it, you can't really criticise the Penrith team call. So the Tappery start with Simmons, Alexander, and that's Willis.
That's a silly penalty, that one. Mark Hone coming in for a second tackle. Brisbane are being frustrated and showing a little bit of inexperience here now. They had to try and recover this lead of 10 points. They suffered a similar deficit in the match against Manly last week. They failed to go for that extra gear in the second half. They're finding it difficult again today.
Well, this is the 6th time that these two sides have come together in Winfield Cup football since Brisbane's entry in 1988. Brisbane won the first 3, Penrith won the next 2, and they've started in fine fettle here today at Penrith Park. They lead by 12-2. And we've had about 9 minutes of play in the second half. Penrith right on the attack. Alexander. That's Bentley. Jackson and Walters combined. Now Alexander exploiting the blind side with big Geyer. The kick and chase. Hoff. Can he get it out? Yes, he can. He did very well under pressure.
Extremely well. 2 players coming through at him. One was Mark Geyer.
Now Willie Kahn. One of the highlights of the match so far was that splendid second try by Brad Fittler. He showed all the skills to score right under the post and help Penrith to that 12-2 lead. They've hung on to that since. And Walters tries to work it up towards the quarter line. No change to the half-time score. 10 minutes gone in the second half, and Brisbane, as they have been right in this match, are still under intense pressure.
So it's Michael Hancock working his way across field. The final tackle coming up, so they'll swing it back to Jackson. He reefs it downfield. Lurking back there is a fullback, Green. Green will run it up to Alan Langer, and he and G combine to put him down on the halfway mark.
As I say, Bill, on the halfway mark, and that means Penrith will play the next 6 tackles inside Brisbane's territory, and that's where they want to keep it.
So back over to Van der Voort. He's been one of the players for Penrith today. Although it's been a great team effort all the way around if you take out that individual try of Fittler. They've all done their job. So Simmons is dummy half. He'll work it away to Alexander. Then to Fittler. Fittler getting it outside, then to Stewart. Stewart losing it in the tackle. Alexander will end up with it for the referee to play the knock-on.
Once again, Penrith exporting a blind side, did it neatly. Fittler was one of the players involved, so was Alexander.
So it's Alan Langer to feed the scrum. Referee Eddie Ward wants it in again. In it goes. A crossover there to Walters. He's quickly going to be claimed, though. Madison from dummy half. Over to Hoff. Fullback chiming in to try and find a way up the centre, but there's nothing happening there. So back to Kevin Walters. Away to Alan Langer. Langer losing it in the tackle. It's going to be a Penrith ball, and Barry Walker coming away with it. So the pressure on again. Dummy half up there is Bentley. Alexander. Then Carter. Almost slipped through the tackle, but G had him by the jersey. So back inside to Vitanza. Simmons to dummy half. Coming on to Clark. Clark flicks it back behind. It went straight to Simmons. Then to Alexander. Alexander stepping up. Walters coming at him, though. Walters eventually pulled him into the ground. He'll play it, though. Penrith on the attack. This is Geyer. Sends a long one. Cutting his way through over there. Reaching for the corner was Carter. Now it's going to be a try. Going into the far side over there is Willis. Carter got it back inside to him, and that will be the ball game. I know it's pretty early, but I can't see anything happening from here.
No, Brisbane are playing too badly to come back from here, Bill. They might have been able to do it against Parramatta. Let's have a look at it again. Guy, the long pass was a good one. I thought Carter had broken clear here and could have scored it himself, but he elects to flick it back on the inside. Willis on the spot. Little step inside Hoff, and G there can't get his body position right to drive back. Here it is again. A long pass from Guy was a good one. There's Carter, held it up for a moment and then does well. Just turns in the tackle. Willis there to take the ball. Propels himself forward. That's a good effort by Penrith.
Yes, and Guy has got to take a lot of credit, but watch the skills here of Carter. Holding the ball up, and he popped it back for Willis, and his strength at the end told as he pulled through G's tackle. And I agree with David Wright, that could be the try that seals the match.
After another 2-pointer. Not an easy shot from out there. It's on its way, and it's waved away. So the score remains Penrith 16, Broncos 2. So it'll be Terry Madison to restart it. Away he goes. It's going to be out on the full. Yes, it is.
Well, when things aren't going right, normally nothing does, and no excuse for that, though. The wind is extremely strong. It did happen in reserve grade, a similar incident where the ball was out on the full in almost the identical position. First grade players should know better.
So the Broncos have made 10 handling errors as opposed to Penrith's 5. So twice as many handling errors.
Interesting here, Bill, that you can kick any kick at all from a free kick, and Greg Alexander electing to place the ball in fine touch.
And doing a pretty good job of it too. They'll come up to about 30 metres out from the Broncos line. They've got the tackles to work with, and they'll put the pressure on from there. Roy Simmons skirting across field. Roy Simmons then propped and tried to go straight ahead, but ran into Mark Hone. There's a body slam as we see it coming back to Vandervoort. Just inside the quarter line, right in centre field. So to Alexander. He gets it outside of Vitanza out of one tackle. Had a good game today as Vitanza.
Played like a man possessed, Joe Vitanza.
And they're calling for it over in centre field. Oh, Fittler ended up with it as it bounced out of the hands over there of Simmons. So they still keep it up, the Panthers. Lined out, ready to roll. Alexander, a long one. Oh, it's knocked out, almost intercepted by Kevin Walters. Another 6 tackles. This is Alexander, and this is trouble. Mark Geyer. Geyer dummies, goes himself, and pulled out a couple of metres out.
Brisbane have been served well by Kieran Walters today.
So from the play, the ball. Back over there this time to Walker. Walker unloads it. Is that a try? I don't think so. It's going to be just short of it. About to play it with Alexander, the dummy half. He tries to sneak his way through. He's over the line, but they'll hold him up.
Brisbane finally showing some desperation that's necessary. They trail 16-2, and they needed to hold out here. Alexander, the dummy, tries to get across the try line. Andrew G, Gavin Allen, or was it Kevin Walters, hold him up.
Very close to the touchline on the far side, but 5 tackles gone, and they're still just outside their own quarter. Now Madison, put it on the right boot and drive it down centre field. Back goes Green. And in that sandy area, that ball just stopped like a 9-iron. And Dowling came over the top in good defence.
Supposed to hit your 9-irons into bunkers for them.
Every now and again. Now Simmons. Vitanza, who really has played strongly today. Stood in the tackle and unloaded. Here's this young boy again, Fittler. Pass for Willis, trying them too. So Fittler and Willis have both scored a double. And Penrith in for yet another one.
Great stuff from Penrith as they went across. Double movement, I'd say. Hold everything. There's been a double movement by Willis. There's Fittler, the big step. Hoff does well to make the tackle. Willis comes through. Hancock makes a good tackle. Let's have a look at it. Grounded short. Second movement. Eddie Ward on the spot. Penalty. Let's have a look at it. Grounded, definite double movement. Good refereeing decision by Eddie Ward.
I'll tell you the thing about that. Those two players were flying. So Eddie Ward showed great pace to be up there, and he was in perfect position.
Yes, he certainly deserves to be match of the day referees. I would think the best in Sydney.
Now Dowling. And Brad Fittler, Tony Durkin is struggling.
Yes, I think Brad Fittler may have incurred a leg injury in that run. He's called to the bench. There's no response from the Penrith bench, surprisingly, but he does look a little uncomfortable. They are big legs, though, to get there's plenty of room in there to get injuries.
Now Langer gets to halfway, floating pass. Jackson, Hoff. Hugs that touchline.
Did well to go to ground as he realised he could have been pushed in a touch.
Now Walters. This is the final tackle. Brisbane decide to run it, but not for too far.
Off the ground. Alan Langer went too far there. He got into trouble by just running too far with it being the last tackle. There he is, into just too much traffic. That's a good tackle, though, that one from Walker. And then passing off the ground. Penalty to Penrith. Fairly typical of what Brisbane have done today. The few opportunities they've had, they haven't held the ball long enough to continue the pressure. All they had to do there was put the little kick through and keep Penrith on the back foot. Instead, Penrith get the ball right on the halfway line.
Halfway mark of the second half, and Penrith have a lead here of 16 points to 2 as they take the tap right on the halfway. Trying to find a way through over there is Willis. Simmons to dummy half. Cuts out Batanza, gets it to Vandervoort.
We know what the catch cry is going to be down here tomorrow. Already at the half-time break, we had the Sydney press saying that the Brisbane wheels have fallen off.
Well, the way they played the first half, I suppose you're entitled to say that, but it's not the end of the world, that is for sure. But steering the face of their second loss in a row. Batanza again. Newcastle next week.
And Brisbane will be without their Australian players. Alan Langer sure to be selected along with Kieran Walters and perhaps Michael Hancock.
So back over there to Alexander, has a drop shot at goal. It's away to the left-hand side of the uprights. Okay, Gladys.
There's the attempted drop goal by Alexander, hook to the left.
Just advances the football over the halfway line. Waddell in there to effect the tackle. Now G, Gavin Allen. Now Home.
That's more like it.
Well, he's lost the football.
That would be a steal for mine.
So it's a day that the Brisbane side would care to forget in a hurry, I think, although I think some very valuable lessons will be learned as a result of this game today as they look towards those tough matches ahead at the Sydney Football Stadium.
You're right, Fordo, and the lesson that should come out very clearly is the bigger the match, the harder the yards, and Brisbane have not wanted to take the hard yards today. They've tried to do it easy. There's no easy games from here on in.
Well, Hancock. Oh, errors. Errors continue.
Michael Hancock back into the side after being out of the Manly match and still troubled by a back injury. And I think he's played tentatively today. I'm sure the back isn't 100%.
The play will come back to under the goalpost for the restart of play, and I think that's been indicative of the pressure that Brisbane have been under through the entire 70 minutes of this match so far.
Well, that's the thing. Brisbane have been under 70 minutes of pressure. Penrith have been under none.
And David Green returns the football to 32 out. And a penalty.
And pressure brings exasperation. Gerard Walters there, blatantly offside. And Penrith will just wind down the clock and look for another 2 points. They lead at the moment 16-2.
Well, it will be Greg Alexander that will look for the 2 points. No doubt has his heart set on the tour later in the year. And a few people are even tipping that he may be in the 17-man squad for New Zealand next week. He's done his prospects no harm here today. And he's kicked it. 18 points to 2, the Panthers. And less than 10 minutes remain here at Penrith Park.
So Terry Madison ready to get it all going again with 9 minutes remaining in this match. And the Penrith team leading by 18 points to 2. The interesting stat to come out of this, David, is the fact that Penrith with the 2 points here go on to 29. Canberra 29. Starting to get very congested up the top there.
It sure is, Bill, with only 2 matches to go. And most of those sides could be expected to win their next 2 matches, or all 3 of those. And therefore, for and against could well decide positions 1, 2 and 3 on the ladder.
So now it's Penrith. Midway between the quarter and halfway as the ball goes back to Alexander. Hancock back there, takes it over the quarter. Vandervoort comes at him. He got away from Vandervoort. Won't get away from Fittler, though. Fittler wraps him up. He'll play it to Willie Kahn, the opposite winger. Back over there to Alan Langer. And Penrith storming through out wide there. So Gavin Allen runs it back inside, gets it to Kahn. He's bowled over in a big tackle.
Well, that's the tactics of the Penrith defensive pattern, and that is to move up very quickly on the outside and turn Brisbane back on the inside.
So I see Brad Fittler leaving the field. What's the story, Tony?
Off, I'd say they're just a precautionary measure, Bill, concerning that groin injury I spoke about earlier. And in his replacement, one of the Izzards, not Brad, but young Grant Izzard in jersey 47.
So it's Penrith in possession.
Bill, I know Wayne Bennett always gets the videotape of all these matches and sits down and studies it.
You wouldn't want to sit through this again, would you?
No, well, he may, but if I was him, I certainly wouldn't let the players see it again, because it would only be very, very demoralising. They've had one of their worst performances.
That's Izzard. Eventually pulled down by Gavin Allen. So from the play, the ball back to Alexander. Alexander onto Vatanza, pulled down by Alan Langer. They're 25 metres out now, Penrith. Way to Vandervoort. He unloads it. Simmons, Izzard. Izzard trying to find a way up the centre, almost succeeding till Alan Langer appeared on the scene. The final tackle, Alexander. Little kick coming in. Izzard's out after, or rather Carter was out after it. But dived on by Kahn back there.
And he cops some knees over the top for his trouble.
That's Hoff. Away from dummy half. Kahn getting it back this time to Greg Dowling. Kahn to Langer. Walters. Chris Johns. They've been trying to find gaps out there today, but they just haven't been coming.
No, they certainly haven't. Paul Hoff, who's been in good form during that Broncos winning streak, along with all his other teammates here today. He's had a disappointing day.
Yet another knock on here. Tony Durkin again.
19, jersey number 19, Ben Alexander taking the place of his big brother Greg.
What? So Ben Alexander feeds the scrum as his brother leaves the field. And now Penrith on the attack again.
What a great game Alexander has had. He sparked a lot of what's been good about Penrith.
So Carter plays it. Simmons gets it outside. Penrith keeping up the pressure here. 5.5 minutes remaining in the match. Simmons to Vandervoort. He's pulled down a few metres out. Cutting back the other way this time is Bentley. Unloads it. They keep it going. But the Broncos defence hanging on this stage with the final tackle coming up. Lost over there by Penrith, and the Broncos will end up with possession right down their own line with 5 minutes to go.
Yes, and it's been a very disappointing first 75 minutes for the Brisbane side. They've made a total of 46 errors. And in 75 minutes of football, that is not acceptable, David, at this level of football.
No, they don't seem to have had a contingency plan out there today. When things weren't going right, you've got to sort of fall back to the basics. Brisbane have continued to make errors.
But in all fairness to this Penrith side, they have followed the letter of their coach's advice out there today to the absolute maximum.
Actually, he's got to take a lot of credit, Phil Gould. He got a lot of credit last week when they came up against a Newcastle side that, and here's a disgraceful kick by Brisbane. You do not kick to the open, so there's an offside play. So Brisbane off the hook. Never kick to the open from the blind without at least being aware of where your own players were. That could have been a disaster. That's schoolboy stuff. Brisbane have been rattled, and Phil Gould's got to take a lot of credit. Up against Newcastle last week, his side won by 20 points to 6, and Coach Gould was given a lot of credit for the tactics employed. And once again today, he's come up with the tactics to beat Brisbane. They ran against the wind in the first half, kept it tight, took their chances, played percentage football, led by 12-2, and consolidated in the second.
Well, when you consider that this Brisbane side have scored 79 tries this year, the defensive record today by this Penrith team has been outstanding.
Sure has. When you look at it, Brisbane this could be, and there's Andrew G. He spilled blood for the side today. It's the first time they've been held trialless in the 1990 season.
So, young Ben Alexander to work the scrum. Referee Eddie Ward not happy. Tony Durkin's down there amid all the action.
Yes, well, there's a heap of photographers here, press photographers, David, of course, and they're all centred around at the moment Greg Alexander and Brad Fittler on the sideline, and what a valuable pair they are for Penrith, have been today, and if fit, will continue to be during the semi-finals.
Yeah, they've been in outstanding form today. Simmons gets it away to Vitanza. One of the unsung heroes on the Penrith side today as well.
One of the best games I've seen him play, Jay Vitanza.
Seems amazing that he played so little first-grade football when he was with the Gold Coast, to be able to come out and play like this today.
Yes.
I think Phil Gould resurrected his career, Tony, didn't he?
Well, I think it's common knowledge, Fordo, that the Gold Coast certainly didn't offer Joe Vitanza a contract for this year, and when you see the relative performance of both clubs and the player down here, you must ask yourself why.
There's the kick from Green, and that's in touch on the fall.
Just didn't quite get the angle right, but Penrith have done very little wrong today. That'll be a changeover.
And a quick play the ball by Alan Langer. Now they move it. Maddison for Hone. Walters. Oh, that's another poor pass. Putting enormous pressure on Jackson. He's lost the football. And here's a chance for Willis. But coming across there was Paul Hoff. So at the dying stages, Penrith putting the pressure back on. It's been a very, very scrappy performance by Brisbane. Now Vitanza loses the football. Picked up by Dowling. That's Maddison. Seems incredible, David, though, when you look at the performance. They really have lacked... Well, they appear to have lacked a match plan out there today. There's been very little purpose in their play and a lot of confusion.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to have been a match plan, but there's certain things about football that you need at least to have a pattern. You don't really necessarily need a plan against the opposition. Here's Jackson.
Ran away from the, well, no support there with him.
But what you need is a pattern, and that is to be able to revert back to the basics if you do get into a bit of trouble. Brisbane at no stage have taken Penrith on when this interchange of passing has not worked, and I think that's where their problems have laid.
Here's a go with Hone. He got to the quarter line before he took the tackle. Into the final minute here at Penrith Park. Now Walters. Well, there's just no purpose here in this Brisbane attack.
Well, I just emphasise again, Fordo, the tougher the match, the harder the yards, and Brisbane have not gone for the hard yards. That's disgraceful.
Walters. G. And I think Brisbane will be very glad when this hooter finally sounds. At Penrith Park, final tackle coming up. But I don't think it'll be one that they'll keep in the archives. This videotape. It's been one of their most disappointing performances.
Well, rugby league's a great leveller. Brisbane flying high 2 weeks ago after that great victory over Balmain. They're right back to earth. They've been caught. They now share the lead at the top of the table. And they've got 2 matches to play to stay there.
Well, at half-time, it was 12 points to 2. And Penrith have gone on with it. And thoroughly deserved winners here at Penrith Park. 3 tries to 0. They have run out winners by 18 points to 2 and serve notice of their intention for the vital games ahead.
This has been a presentation of Fox Sports in partnership with the National Rugby League.